Welcome to Course Corrections. Robby here. This episode is a little different. We actually sat down with two friends, sat down virtually, they're in Virginia, with Layton and Rob Fales. These guys are experts, they're pros. We talked to them about our journey, they've been following along with Course Corrections. They had some advice for us on what we needed to do to get better. A lot of it's just common sense. So I hope you enjoy this episode of Course Corrections, sponsored by Arcos and the Stack System. And of course, our friends at Summit Golf Brands. You can check out the links in the show notes, get some discounts on all their great stuff. But now, our conversation with Rob and Eric. Y'all enjoy. Eric Layton and Rob Fales. Jonathan, this is the episode of Course Corrections that is going to fix our game forever. Guys, welcome. We appreciate you guys being here.
Glad to be on.
Thanks for having us.
Excited.
Absolutely. Well, besides hosting the Golf Intervention podcast, which I think if anybody hasn't listened to it yet, you need to subscribe and follow it. I think it's great golf instruction in a very practical, real way. Eric, I think one of the things I mentioned to you was kind of the series you guys did on scoring strategy really stood out to me back in the fall. I like that. But you guys don't just podcast, and to give a little validity to your skill and understanding of the game, Eric is the PGA Director of Golf at the Country Club of Virginia, and Rob is the PGA Player Development Leader. I think I got that right, at Birdwood Golf Course.
Well done.
Both in Virginia. You put it on your Instagram. I can read. So.
Oh, that's true. Okay, yeah.
They are. So, Jonathan, yes, they are going to fix our golf games, but.
Yeah, I did.
Jonathan, why don't you give a baseline of where you are, where we are in this process?
Well, I didn't know who was under more pressure. These guys, like, supposedly coming on and fixing everything, or us, because now if I'm not any good still, it's all my fault because these guys are great. I mean, I'm probably like most golfers, right? Except I play golf more. I don't know if I play golf more, but I sort of picked it up whenever I was late in age, 27, 28. Robby and I used to work together. He was my boss selling copiers. And then I probably 10 years, Robby? Probably 10 years at least, where I didn't hardly pick up a club at all. And then we started doing the podcast, so I play more golf. Had my first golf lesson. It feels like a long time ago, but it's just been February. I think I've had maybe 5 or 6. Had my first driver lesson last night, so I'm a little sore.
He has refused, Eric, you've heard, he's refused to hit driver. He ropes like a 4-iron.
Well, I used to hit driver a long way. When we first started playing, Robby can still hit the ball a pretty good ways and consistently. But we were long hitters, and so, drivers was 300 plus yards, and it all worked. And then I stopped playing and haven't figured it out. So we were...
And we got older and
definitely older, yeah. You know, what really drew me away from the driver was that it was so bad that I started thinking about a scoring strategy, if you will, which hasn't exactly worked out. But, my driver just is so flailing. But if I play from the whites, I could probably go 7-iron if I really wanted to. My 7-iron goes about 200 yards. So, on a par 4... 380 or whatever, I'm like a 7-iron and then some sort of, 9-iron or some sort of wedge in. So I did get a 4-iron since we went overseas to Ireland and Scotland, thinking maybe I can make that run. It worked once at the old course. It worked for a day at the old course. Had my best scoring ever. Broke 90 for the first time at the old course, which was just magical.
That's
and
awesome.
Then it's kind of stopped working. So now I'm back to figuring out if I can hit a driver. I had a lesson. It's in the shop right now, getting a stiffer shaft, and I've got another lesson on Thursday. And all this is because we're going on a trip to Pinehurst. So I figured, maybe if I could learn how to poke a ball out there 250 plus, then I'll have a chance of hitting a green and sticking it on number 2. So we'll see. But Robby's just consistently consistent. I think that might be the best way to say it.
Consistently inconsistent is the better way of saying it. I think the reason, Rob, we were talking about it, a mutual friend, Colin, that introduced us, and so really started listening to you guys. That was back early fall last year, and really started listening to you guys. And again, the scoring and strategies that you guys did. But I like the description you have in your podcast, the dedicated to helping golfers of all level, so that's all of us, improve their scoring and enjoyment of the game using all different kinds of things. So let's just open it up with you guys. How did you start doing this and realizing that there are people, it's pretty obvious, but there are people like us that need help and some common sense instruction.
I've been teaching golf for 22 years, so it's I see it every day. Like you mentioned, I'm the director of golf instruction at the Country Club of Virginia. We're a huge club, one of the biggest probably private clubs in the country. We have 54 holes. And so I teach 10 or 11 lessons every day and every level of golfer. So I could have someone literally prepping for the U.S. Senior Open, elite junior and college players, and then complete beginners. And then you have the probably inside the bell curve of who I teach is you two, right? It's like 8 to 10 handicaps or, 20 some handicap that's just trying to improve. So what we know is, and the reason why this podcast exists is that every one of you that plays golf is on a different journey. You're on a different place in the journey. And so we wanted to provide context to that journey. That's what we're after. And a lot of what we do as coaches is not just teach the swing. I think people think, oh, I need to go get a golf lesson. I'm going to quote unquote work on my swing. Well, I think Rob Fales would tell you, and I would tell you that working on golf swings is a small part of what we do. We work a lot on a lot of other stuff. And so what we wanted to do was communicate a framework to golfers, like, here's who you are. It to me, in my mind, it was like, if you've ever listened to the Dave Ramsey podcast, he's like, oh, you're baby step 3 and you're baby step 5.2, like all this stuff. And I'm like, if we could communicate to people where they are in the journey, like, where are you? What do you need to work on? How do you know you're there? And so I said, I got to find like the person in my network that would be so down for this and like so analytically driven. So my first text went to Rob Fales and I just said, Rob, we need to do a podcast. It was like in the middle of a lesson I'm teaching him. Like, I just decided in that moment. And he maybe took 30 seconds. He's like, yeah, I'm down. So that's what we've been on. And actually, I will tell you that like the development of the framework of what we try to communicate to people has helped me as an instructor a ton. And so I think it's been great on the journey. And so like listening to you two describe what you're trying to do to improve is interesting. I said I made a lot of notes. We got a lot of things to talk about, especially with Jonathan. Jonathan, man, we got some things to talk about.
I love it. I love it.
So did I miss anything there, Rob?
What's your context? Yeah, Rob, kind of echo that or kind of gives your commentary a flavor on how you respond to that.
Yeah, I like thinking of it as like a big game of poker, right? So like you always have this like cost benefit analysis running in the background of what you're doing all the time, right? So that's especially true for coaches who have a player in front of us who's paid their hard-earned money for our time and attention, and it's our job to figure out for that student what is the intervention, pun not intended, what's the play call that's going to give them the highest probabilities of getting to where they need to be. And golf instruction for a long time has just been very kind of preference, a very sort of like 2D position based of like, I just think if you do this, you'll get where you need to go. The well-meaning golfer is just say, okay, that's the pro. They know what they're talking about. And unfortunately, like it just needs to be better. So we need to have context and really that who is the golfer in front of us? Why are they here? Conversation number one. And then what is the most relevant thing that they need to get to the next level? Not all the way to the very end of their journey. Like, hey, what do we do to get the biggest bang for our buck with the least amount of cost with the highest upside? All right, so that's where I kind of think about it. So many tips that you see on YouTube and Instagram where I was like, hey, just do this. Hey, just do that. And like, well, what's the cost, right? Like some of this stuff is like very, very, very invasive, very intrusive. And the upside is like not at all assured, right? So like we're trying to flip the script a little bit on how we think about improvement in golf coaching and really the game in general.
Yeah, because there's not a one-size-fit-all, right? Like You talked about golf instructors in the old, maybe there's still room for this, but like drawing the lines on the screen after you get there and trying to get the perfect Adam Scott-looking swing and stuff like that. Like if you're somewhat naturally athletic, you guys are probably good enough to help somebody like that figure it out a little bit better.
Yeah, I would say like there's just so many options, right? Like as soon as we start thinking, hey, here's a line, like it literally, like when you draw a line on a screen, you are drawing a literal line in the sand. You're saying, hey, like this is the one option, right? and I know people use video differently, but just for the sake of this argument, like, hey, can we appreciate that there's actually like a range here, right? That we could probably explore and try to figure out, okay, in what context would one end of that spectrum be preferable versus the other, right? So it's just a little different way of thinking about it.
I like it. So, I am kind of in that 7 to 8 handicap range. I would love to figure out how to obviously get that lower. Maybe by the end of the year, get it down to the 5 or something like that, if not better. Jonathan, you're what, in the 18, 19 right now?
Yeah.
And so your goal would be,
scratch.
You want to get down, not scratch, 10.
Sorry.
This year, right in that 10 to 15 range, I think would be a dream scenario.
I think it's reasonable from a scoring perspective. I think there's a long way to go with my swing, but beginning to understand how to limit bad holes is huge. I think on one of your podcasts I was listening to, that's one of the things you guys talk about. Like, so many people work on the swing, and never really pay attention to the scoring aspect, and then they're still frustrated because they've spent so much time trying to perfect a swing without ever understanding scoring.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, maybe we could get better at both. Robby and I did a challenge. I don't know if we did it before or after the course corrections. We went out and started at 150 yards to see how close we could get to par, because you think like, oh, well, if I hit a driver really well, then I'll be really good at golf. And I think we were still not very good at golf from 150 yards. But little different tips and tricks like that, trying to figure out.
It was eye-opening, right? It shows you that our approach and short game need a lot of work.
Right, a lot of work.
Yeah. Eric, I'm curious. You said you got a lot of notes. Let's.
Oh my gosh.
Let's jump into something. I want to hear what you got.
So a couple things. Like, I think I love the fact that y'all are using some stat tracking, capabilities through Arcos. I don't personally use Arcos with my students. Not any reason why, other than the strokes gain thing to me is it lacks context a little bit, which we talk about it gives you an idea of where your shortcomings are relative to where your goals are. And I think I like that Jonathan kind of switched his into, I don't know if it was like a 15 handicap you were trying to gauge off of. But I mean, it can point out things like, you're go ahead.
I said, when it started, I think it had you to a scratch. And so you look at the number and you're like, I'm 18 strokes away from I'm 10 strokes on approach and I'm 12 strokes on putting. You're like, I could just give up. Like, this is terrible. And you're like, wait a minute. I found a way to adjust. I'm like, oh, a 10's not bad, because all of a sudden you're like, hey, you lost 2 shots on your approach, but you also lost 3 shots because you hit it into the woods 3 times. And so you're like, oh, well, if I just clean up 1 or 2 things, then you're not that far away.
Right. So maybe. I think that you kept saying that the driving, it was pointing out that your driving was holding you back, which you communicated well today. So I think that it's interesting that it's been that many months since your first lesson and you just started working on the driver. Like, I think if I were you walking into a lesson saying I'm terrible at driving, I would have worked on the driver day one, try to get that figured out. And so I'm trying to infer from what you talk about on the podcast, do you slice the ball? Is that the issue? It's like a big slice?
Oh, yeah.
And you're a lefty?
My issue right? I'm trying to visualize. Yeah. I had no idea for the first 15 years I've ever played golf that somehow your hands are involved in a golf swing. Like, I was a baseball player, so everything is like, just at some point you yank it and you have to hit hard and your hands have to do all the things. And so when I came up, I told Robby, I'm not even going to work on my irons. We're just going to work on driver. And then the first lesson, he's like, well, why don't we just look at your golf swing? And I did this thing, and he goes, no, don't do that. And so he's like, do this, this, and this. All of a sudden, I hit this ball, and it sort of just floats up in the air, and it goes straight. I'm like, what is this? This is insane. And so since then, I think I've had 3 or 4 lessons with irons preparing for overseas. And then it's like, all right, now I'm ready in a place that I feel like I've become comfortable in what is an actual golf swing, to see if that can translate into a driver, because I still don't trust my hands to release it. But last night was good. Hopefully Thursday will be better. So, yeah.
So I was listening to thinking, I haven't heard him say that he knows why he slices it yet. And like, you have to know the answer. You know what I mean? Like, the first step is, why do you slice? And there's one answer. I've never seen you swing a club ever. And I'll tell you the answer. The answer is the club face is open. right? And so either the impact location on the face is at a place where you never can hit it straight, or the club face is open, which is probably the answer, right? So just putting that back into the story is like, you got to figure out why the club face is open. That's really the end of the story, right? And so try to figure that out and work through. And what Rob Fales describes really, really well is that there's something between swing and shot, right? And golfers aren't really that good at kind of working this out, and that is there's skill involved, right? And so you can make a really good swing. Maybe your swing works really, really well. We don't know because we haven't seen it. But what we're saying is you've got to figure out the skill of making good contact and getting the club face to square up, right? In some way, shape, or form. Whether you're over the top or whether your body outraces your hands or hands. None of that actually is valid right in the moment until we figure out how to square the club face up, right? And if you hit massive pull hooks to start with, that's okay. Like, you just got to figure that out. And so I thought it was interesting. Right. Like, I never heard you say, this is why I drive it poorly, right? And that's the answer. Like, if you asked Isaac Newton, the answer is, the face is open, right? So that makes the ball go that direction. And so, like, I think always trying to figure out, like Rob Fales said, is like, what is the jumping off point? Like, what am I trying to figure out? And so I think that was really interesting one. Go ahead.
I think that's a very valid thought, because one thing that Jonathan has changed in the last 6 months is he got stiff shaft on his irons. He had their old regular flex shafts, and he swung so hard. That in itself, the regular flex was leaving the club face open a lot.
Huge.
So he used to slice it a lot more. Yeah. So, like, that one tangible thing has straightened it out, but now it's maybe a grip issue or something, right? Like, something that is causing the club face to stay open when he's... Yeah. It's probably not the swing. Yeah.
No question. And
well, it was a host of issues causing it to happen.
Well, it sounded like, I mean, it sounded like it was like you were going through some swing changes to figure out how to hit it straighter. And that's good. I just think, the first step is going to be always pretty much with a slicer is like, we got to get the club. Even if you pull hook it, like I would say in a non-fixing way, I would say, let's learn how to hit it. So for you, you're a lefty hitting a slide. I would hit it the other way, right? Like let's learn where the guardrail is the other way, which Rob there can tell you the science around finding the guardrails. But, once you've probably reacted with your swing in the way that you have because the face has always been open, right? And so you athletically are reacting to that. And then if you get the club face closed, you actually probably start to naturally react to it in a way that is going to hopefully hit the ball straighter. So if you don't know why now your club face is open when you swing, you got to find that out. And that you got to work through that.
Oh, no. I found that out
Rob Fales. You think I'm right there?
Second lesson. Robbie can attest to it. I used to try to fix it because how far ahead of my front foot would I put the ball around me? 6 inches at least. Because I knew from without knowing anything about golf that if I put it in the middle of my stance, when I get there, that ball just sails straight left. And I was like, okay, well then if that's where that's happening, then if I just move it forward, maybe I can like force my hands in a way to keep the club closed. And so I would like Robbie talks about, I'd always tip it over. So I would, what's it called? I always forget what you call it.
You're de-lofting it.
I de-loft everything, put the ball way in front of my foot, and like force this golf swing to shove things out there into the middle somewhere. And then since I knew I had the swing, I would aim way to the right and be like, okay, this is going to trail back 15, 20 yards into the middle of the fairway. Dogleg rights were miserable for me because I could never figure out how to do that. But now it's like there's a regular swing, the ball's where it's supposed to be, the club stays closed most of the time. And like Robbie mentioned, the shafts being stiffer has helped. It's probably brought it in 20 to 25 yards on my irons just by not letting, and I didn't know anything about technology or anything. Like it was just, when I was using like Dick's Sporting Goods Acuity brand. So it was just whatever was out there was what I was playing with.
Little torquey for a high club.
That's real. Yeah, I had no idea. Yeah, I was like, I didn't know this thing. I didn't know that you could make adjustments on your driver for like we just found this out. You can make adjustments on your driver with a little turn of a knob and the loft changes and all this kind of stuff.
Don't say we. I knew you could do that.
I didn't know any of this stuff. I mean, like I really don't. I've got there's so much about golf that I don't know. I know how to have a good time, but other than that,
that's good. That's a good.
So I think club fitting is one thing that it's always been on like the bucket wish list of like, I think that would help. You talk to people that are even like in that maybe range I'm in, single digits, but not quite getting there, and club fitting to get, dialed in with exactly what suits your game, lie, loft, all that kind of stuff. What's y'all's take on how that might improve, somebody trying to obviously get better?
Eric, I'm gonna punt to you again because you're the
punt to me. I club fit a lot, so yeah. Our team is like the biggest. We're the number one seller of Titleist and Ping, and number 3 seller of Callaway, like in the state of Virginia. So we fit a ton of golf clubs, right? I fit golf clubs every single day, and frankly, I teach in a fitting studio, and I'm pretty much tweaking equipment in every lesson so like, we might be switching out shafts. And I think that's part of one of the things we say about, you need good coaching, you need good club fitters. If you go just see a club fitter, they're going to see you through the lens of like how you walk in that day, which is fine. And they're salespeople. It's what they do. Or if you have a coach that club fits a lot, that's probably the best thing because they're invested in your performance, right? And so like they may say to you, hey, this shaft isn't quite right, let's swap it out. Or let's check your lie angles, maybe we can just bend these clubs. Whereas a salesperson might be trying to get you a whole new set. So I would definitely get an equipment assessment. You could do that with a good coach. That wouldn't be too invasive, just to try to get an idea. I mean, we do that all the time, just going through the shafts and the heads and kind of seeing like where that is. If you're not fit for your clubs, all kinds of things can go wrong. This kind of goes back to Jonathan playing with like a partial set. Are you still playing with a partial set of irons? Were you doing like every other iron or something?
Did you hear about my new?
And then my new so I gotta hear about it. Everything's a 9 iron length. Did you?
All right, so
I was laughing out loud. See, like my headphones on, trimming my hedges. I'm listening to this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we doing?
Yeah, I had this idea that like I hit my 9 iron pretty well. So what if I just put everything so there was a 9 iron swing? So I had an old Callaway head, some used clubs I bought a while back, and I went to where the driving range is. They've got a place to fix it. I'm like, hey, listen, here's what I want to do. Let's measure my 9 iron. It's 36 inches, I think is what it was. I was like, put this 5 head on it, and use this shaft. They matched it up, the whole deal. And then I did my technology experience. I went to the TrackMan, and I hit my 5 iron, my regular 5 iron, and then I hit my 9 iron. And then I hit my 9 to 5. I call it my Dolly Parton, and it worked. Like I've got some lead tape because it's a little light. Like it feels like it's too light, so I end up like really hooking it hard, like it comes across too fast. But I'm still hitting it like 210 on average. I've got about the same amount of loft. Now I don't know if I'm going to go all the way to it, but I do have another 7 iron laying around that I'm going to give that a try too, just to see if it'd match up. Some people, they have whole companies that sell for one swing, and you think like if you just worked on a 9 iron swing, then maybe it could work. It is a really nice safety punch. I've used it in a couple rounds. If I'm in the woods or something like that,
it's like the old.
It's like a great safety punch out. Yeah, because it's nice and short, so you just do like a half, 3/4 swing, and it'll still stay low and loft out there for you. So
yeah. So I was listening to that. I'm like, he's going to realize the swing weights are going to be all screwy. The shaft stiffness is going to be screwed up as he starts cutting them down.
No idea.
The head, even the aerodynamics change a little bit with loft versus no loft. But I mean, you have enough club headed speed, it sounds like, to be able to maybe play a single length set of irons at least. But what I would say is like, play all the irons. Like you're trying to get the club on the ball on the green most often. Leaving bigger gaps in between your irons is kind of nonsensical when you're trying to do that. It actually would help you a ton to have more clubs, even if it was just from the 6 iron down. But well, I'm the golf performance coach, right? Like I just give you the answer.
No, I understand.
But I would say
like, I heard your thing, the 5-minute deal about mini drivers and why people choose them. I chose it because it was $240 for a new driver instead of $600. I was like, I'll do a mini driver. That'll be fine. And so that's why I have a mini driver.
Well, you're the perfect candidate for mini driver. There's no question.
Yeah, like so, it's a lot of money.
Going back to the original question about club fitting, I mean, I've seen people, Rob Fales can tell you I fit him for his driver, how much better how much better he hits his driver from just a good, and he's an elite player, right? I've seen people dramatically change. I had one person one time go from a 6 handicap to a +1 in 2 months because I put him in the right clubs. And that's true. We changed almost nothing else. The equipment can have a
I'll be up there tomorrow.
Right.
You come on up. The equipment can have a massive impact. Because think about it. Think about the learning context. If I get a club that isn't right for whatever reason, right, that is going to bias the club face angle to be in the wrong position, right, either closed or open, and I'm practicing and I'm seeing the ball go a different way, I'm going to start manipulating my swing to try to fix something that isn't broken. Right. And that's the problem. And so club fitting is massively huge. And so to me, it's just an ongoing process with your coach. You always got to be working on that if you really want to be down it. And as the 8 handicap trying to get to a 5, it's pretty important. My guess is you over time have gotten your clubs pretty close. The 20-some handicap with tons of club head speed and big ball flight issues, it's massively important for them. I mean, and I will tell you, the most important it is for people is the elite player. Their clubs are so precisionally dialed. I work with an LPGA Tour player playing in the senior LPGA stuff now. She is all over her equipment all the time. So I'm helping, that's what we work on mostly is actually the equipment. So it's always being fine-tuned, always being dialed in. So I think it's club fitting is huge. And so if you don't have a good club fitter that you trust down there, I would try to locate one ASAP and try to get a little bit of an assessment. For sure.
I like it. Let me ask this question. So in my game, Jonathan says it's consistent, but I would say consistently inconsistent. One of the things I struggle with is the coming over top, right? Like, using the big dumb muscles up top and just, I don't know what you call it, but just getting overly aggressive. And that makes, for me, inconsistent swings as opposed to nice, smooth, lower body. I mean, one of the things I struggle with is on my takeaway, I get up top and I'm not even finishing my takeaway before I'm ready to attack the ball. And so it throws me off plane, off angle, whatever you want to call it. So what mental tricks or just actually doing it is there that would help make that less of a problem for somebody like me?
I'll go ahead and take this one. So the number one thing that, in my opinion, we can do consistently is hold it well, or I guess 3 things. Hold it well, stand well, and then swing freely. All right, so I don't want to take that lightly. The way that we hold the club sets the stage for how we put force into the club, and then it sets the stage for how the club moves us. And I think that's a big misunderstanding. The golf swing is a swing before it's anything else. All right, so every swing, if you think about what it is, it's some part force. So it's one part putting force into the club. And then it's 2 or 3 parts momentum. A lot of times I see golfers not appreciate the momentum piece, and they don't actually allow the club to change the shape of their rib cage, change the shape of their shoulders, change the shape of the elbows, change the shape of the wrist. So the way that we hold it, if I have any sort of gapping, any sort of space, any sort of air, right, where that club can be moving around in swing, what that's going to do is that's going to increase tension levels in my forearms and my wrist, right, and my elbow up into my arm and into my shoulder. Those are the places in our body where the tension is the most damaging. So if you just take your arms and the club out in front of you, if you just squeeze your arms, try to create as much tension, turn those muscles on as much as possible, and then take it all away, right? Just give it an inhale and then exhale, feel that tension come out. From the wrist joint all the way up to the shoulder, I want it to be tension free. But in the fingers, right, and in basically the heel pad of the lead hand, that's where I want pressure. So I want the club very secure, meaning if I were to come in there, grab the club, and try to take it out of your hands, it's not coming out of your hand. But I should be able to easily move you anywhere that I want to move you. I would bet that it's the opposite for you. I would bet that if I took a really close look at how that's organized, I would guess that, again, being an 8 handicap, it's going to be better than most, but I would still say in swing, there is a ramp up of tension that is unnecessary. And it's asking the question, okay, well, where is that tension coming from? Is it me just not trying to fall over, right? So do I not have the middle of my heel and the base of my big toe on the ground at setup, right? So are you crazy push forward at setup, all right? Or Are you crazy back, right? Like, do we have a nice foot contact at address? Again, that's how well we're standing. That's super, super, super important. So if I can get your whole foot on the ground, and a lot of people assume like, oh yeah, I'm standing, like my foot's on the ground. I put them on our force plates and they see like their whole foot is not on the ground. It's maybe, maybe just heel, or maybe just way out on the toe, or maybe it's just the outside, like the lateral border of the foot. Right? So I'm talking about like middle of your heel, base of your big toe, and then that outside like base of your little toe can kind of be touching the ground. So those toes can be kind of like nice and kind of elongated and kind of flat resting on the ground. What you'll feel is like if you get pushed forward, your toes are going to do this. Right? And then now what do you have? You have tension. Correct. So that's the second place that tension can come. Again, it can come in our grip, and it can come from not standing well. The third place it can come is in swing. So for the shot that you have, there is a certain amount of force that you're going to be able to give the golf club in the backswing direction for the shot that you're playing. If you don't give the backswing enough force, what are you going to probably have to do? Grab and pull.
Overcompensate on the way down, yeah.
Increase tension. What if you give it too much? You're going to have to grab, right? Think about a swing set. If I give it too much of a push, it's going to go over the bar. So I've got to grab it to keep it from going over the bar, right? If I'm really slow in my backswing, it's all force the entire time. I never actually have momentum. Let's say I do have enough force and let's say I let it be momentum, then I can let this thing swing freely back into the golf ball for the shot that I'm playing. That's what we would prefer. Right? So again, if I'm going really slow the whole time, I don't have any momentum, that's just all force the whole way, that would not be an enjoyable ride on the swing set. Again, lots of tension. Think about how much work your muscles are having to do to get the club from here to here without momentum. A lot of tension required. If I don't have enough work in the backswing, if I don't have enough force, but let's say I am letting it go, I'm letting it swing freely, but I don't have enough, you're gonna have to add tension to get it to be what you want if you have too much, right? So it's figuring out how to get that first part of the backswing organized from a force standpoint, and then learning to actually let it go, let the force that you're putting into the club actually be demonstrated in momentum after that, which, not to get too far on a tangent here, requires that we put an emphasis on the behaviors in the present moment that allow the outcome to be what it is, as opposed to the outcome. Right? As opposed to this ball can't go left. This ball can't go right. This shot has to go my way, right? Other things that aren't relevant of like, hey, like I've got to look good doing it, right? Like all these things that aren't relevant to the task typically are going to get us either in the future or in the past, which is going to naturally increase tension. The least amount of tension is what's happening in the present moment. Right? So if your attention is on what's right here and right now, you're going to have the best chance of actually being free. And that's where I see depth come from. When people are like, hey, like I really swing the best when my club gets really deep, when my club gets really shallow, when my club does all this. Well, what they don't understand is that it's the club moving them through those positions. It's not them forcing the club into a certain spot and then trying to force it on the way down. You're just in control the entire time. And A, you're not going to be able to do it consistently. B, it's going to be a crap ton of work. And C, it's not going to feel very good. So I'm a huge fan of let's explore how you're holding it. Let's explore how you're standing. Let's see if we can get the first part of the golf swing organized so that you can let it go and swing freely. But then let's learn how to actually swing freely. And so I have a couple drills. I do like a walking drill. So basically like you'll be like 2 or 3 steps behind a golf ball and you'll get the club swinging back and forth, and you just keep swinging it until you're like, yep, that's the least amount of work I feel like I can do to keep this club kind of swinging, right? So the least amount of tension required. And then once you feel like you've got it, right, in the rhythm of kind of where the club's moving, you literally just walk that forward until a golf ball gets in the way, right? And then what you'll do is, again, when you anticipate that club's going to hit the ball, you'll feel it. You'll be like, oh my gosh, like I totally changed it. Like I grabbed it, I moved it, because it's going to be such a stark difference between what you were doing before you had the expectation of the ball getting hit versus after. All right. So we've got a bunch of drills for that too. But like that's really kind of my main thing is I try to get the things that need to be consistent as possible. And typically when the rhythm of the swing is really good, the skills tend to line up a lot easier. Is typically what I see. Now, that is not a substitute for skill training, but it is absolutely a thing that gets the odds in your favor as best as possible. So, sorry, and rant.
Yeah, no. Two things. 2 of the 3 really jump out to me. The feet, because like Jonathan and probably you guys, you played baseball growing up, and so like I have that. I'm trying to work on it, like on my especially driver. like as I on my takeaway, like my left foot, I'm right-handed, my left foot wants to come up off the ground, feeling like I need to, almost like I'm about to really go after one. And so I'm trying to keep that flat on the ground, like you said.
Okay, I would say,
but then also the tension, I feel a lot of tension like up here, like, on my start of my downswing. And so that I think is what throws me off. So you're speaking my language. I'm hearing it. And
so
Jonathan, I'm going to crush you next time. So.
One quick caveat here. The foot contacts are really, they are just the part of the foot that is touching the ground. That is not necessarily where the pressure is, okay? So you can have, if you've got 2 bathroom scales under each foot, right, you could be 50-50, you could be 80-20 on one side, you could be 80-20 on the other. You're not going to necessarily see a huge change, right? So when we swing, we want to absolutely allow the pressure, kind of like when you walk, you want to allow the pressure to bounce back and forth. So if that lead foot in the backswing, which it should, by the way, should get really light, and if it comes off the ground, then that's great. I have no qualms whatsoever with the lead foot coming up off the ground, especially in the backswing. It's when it comes back down, again, we just want the part of the foot that does touch the ground, because again, you can think of the swing as like walking. When you walk, your feet touch your feet step, your rib cage changes shape, and then your arms do what?
Yeah, with it.
They swing. Yep. They swing freely, right?
Yep.
It's literally just how you walk, right? So if I don't let the pressure change in my feet, then it becomes really hard to get my rib cage going, which then makes it really hard to actually get enough force into the club to get my arms swinging properly, right? So I would say that differentiating between pressure, which is again just how the feet are pressuring the ground, versus the foot contacts, I think is really important. It's just setup. Like, can we just get the whole foot on the ground at setup and then learn how to kind of rhythmically move off of that?
I love it.
I just did that swing drill last night. That was one of the things trying to figure out.
The walking drill?
Yeah, literally
Oh, nice.
Get it up here, bring it back, and just let it kind of flow back and forth without ever worrying about hitting a ball or anything else. And to feel that rhythm of your chest moving this way and then your chest opening up this way. And
it's
instead of this, which is jerking the hand and the ball and everything else down to hit it off.
Yeah, it has that little think about a swing set, right? It's kind of gradually settles and then it kind of gradually kind of changes direction, right? It's kind of I do this, people make fun, I'm always doing this with it's like a music. It's literally when you start to see it, it's just energy waves, right? It's just kind of, there's definitely a flow to it that gives you the most bang for your buck, essentially. You're working the least to get the most out of kind of what you're doing. That's what we're going for.
So we could talk technique and skill and things like that nonstop. You guys, like you've mentioned, you haven't seen us in person hit the ball. So we're talking kind of big general things that based on what you've seen and heard, would help our game. One thing I really want to chat about and kind of get your thought on is the mental side, the scoring strategy. Like I mentioned before on your podcast, y'all had a series in the fall on scoring strategy. I take that and I listen to all of them, the mental side of playing smart, like John Sherman says, the war against double bogeys, how to avoid the big misses, but how to play golf smarter. So let me ask this, for someone like Jonathan and myself, or anybody out there listening that wants to get better, what is the aspect, driving, approach, short game, putting, what is the one that might help more than the other, or where should people focus on trying to play smarter?
So I think it's a two kind of part question. When we talk about strategy, you can kind of break it up into two areas. You can talk about what we call as your scoring strategy, which is, again, what's the global goal for this shot? And usually it comes in the form of a decision tree. So it's what is my priority number 1? What is my priority number 2? What is my priority number 3? And then it also goes into your dispersion and then learning how to read the current lie, the current slope, the current wind, and how that's going to affect your dispersion, right? Because we always base this stuff off of dispersions. It's not, okay, here's the one shot you think you can hit. It's the one of the 100 that you're probably going to hit, okay, right? So that's kind of how we like to look at it. Now, a decision tree is going to be, for driving and approach, is not going to be crazy different in the sense that number 1 for all skill levels is going to be penalty area and disruptor avoidance. So a disruptor is basically a penalty that's not really a penalty, right? Where you can't play the ball from. You maybe have to play it sideways or backwards or just chop it out or what have you, right? So that is going to be number one. All right, so when you're holding up your dispersion, now if you're a level 1 golfer, if you're a level 2 golfer, if you're a level 3 golfer, whatever that dispersion looks like, appreciate that this is a standard deviation on one side and the other, okay? So I ask people like, hey, if this is a bell curve, right? If all of your shots are on a bell curve, what's the very, very top of the bell curve, right? So what would you all think? What is that very top of the bell curve of all your shots represent?
30 yards left.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Better answer than I would typically get. People say, that's my best shot. It's like, no, hold on.
Most of the time it's 30 yards left.
It's a miss, okay?
Yeah.
It's like a miss, all right? So if you look at your dispersion, if you hold up, again, level 1, level 2 is like hook 'em horns, like all the way out. And then level 3, you can kind of bring that in a little bit. And then here's Scotty.
Get a little wolf pack looking in there.
Right.
It does look like a wolf pack. Yeah, my wife's an NC State grad, so I do that for her. But again, this right here, the very, very middle as well as the very end, that's your top end, kind of basically 16% of your shots, right? The stuff that's in here is really what we're kind of concerned about. This is your middle, basically 51% is going to be somewhere kind of in here, right? And then, 67%. And then on the bottom end, those are the ones that are like out here. Those are your bottom 16. So we don't want to, and this is the misunderstanding, this is not 100% of your shots. Meaning like I am taking on some risk. Like I'm accepting the fact that 16% of the time I'm going to be over here and over here. Right? So that's going to be in a penalty area, right? You're going to hit it in a penalty area sometimes. That's going to be in a bunker short-sided. You're going to do that sometimes. So what it is an appropriate amount of risk for your skill level. So whatever your dispersion is, you're going to hold that up. And the beauty of this is that it scales with distance, right? It doesn't matter how far you are away. If you're 300 yards away, that's going to give you a much bigger zone. If you're 30 yards away,
literally saying like use your fingers to like look out, like
yes,
as an aim point. Really?
Yes. So it's giving you a dispersion, right? So you, Jonathan, you're going to be here. You're going to be hang 10, and
Jonathan,
you're going to be
right. That's
right?
interesting because then you can be like, okay, I need to avoid the woods, so I make sure that that's more line. Okay,
you got it. And understand that, hey,
here comes 80, shooting 80 at Pinehurst.
All right. So understand the beauty of this is fluid, right? So into the wind, right? Into the wind, downwind. All right. Rough. Okay.
Yeah.
You're feeling good today. You're not feeling so good today, right? So it's fluid. Now, understand what that dispersion actually is, because that goes into the acceptance piece. If you believe that you should hit 100% of your shots in here, you're toast. Okay? It's 67%. Okay? 67%. Your decision tree is going to be driver is penalty area disruptor avoidance, approach shots, penalty area disruptor avoidance. That's number one. Then number two, I would say for you in particular, Jonathan, is going to be
putter. Let's just putt from wherever we are.
For talking about driver, talking about approach play, you're good. I would say as far down there as you can get it without this being in a penalty area or disruptor. And then if you can get more fairways, then go for it. Approach wise, it's going to be as much of this as you can get on the green as possible. Yeah. And then if you have extra room on either side, like if you have room to spare, then you slide this thing closer to the pin. And that's honestly it's the same for all levels. Like that's the decision tree. Now the difference is that, okay, you go from level 1 to level 2. Right. Now you're sliding this thing way closer to the pin.
Scotty Scheffler's like looking
and
through one
then Scotty's
eyeball.
like in here. He's basically going on, if he's right, like that's the beauty of it, is that as you get more skillful, as you start to be able to predict live wind slope better, this dispersion gets tighter, therefore your proximity is going to be closer to hole, therefore you're making more birdies, which is what a higher level player should be trying to do anyway. Right. So that's kind of how we like to see it. What is your dispersion? And then what's your ability to predict how the slope of the wind's affecting that? That's going to give you whatever you're holding up and where you're holding. And then you're looking through, okay, what is my priority number 1, priority number 2, priority number 3? All right. And then it's just on autopilot at that point. Like, that's what I think is so good about the way that we do strategy, is that it becomes this very like autopilot kind of thing. Like, you're not sitting there like thinking about what you're doing, right? You're just like, throw it up, good, done.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this on a podcast right now, like through Spotify or whatever, pause it, go to YouTube and watch this. Because this is, I mean, literally, like, you know about dispersion. We talk about it. You try to visualize it like you're imagining what it would be. But to have that tool of literally like, okay, like there's woods over here, so I don't want to go there. And I bring my hand in, and now I've got a spot. I've got an aim point of where I should literally put my body in a place with an expectation, because setting my expectation that it could go over to this spot, it could go over here. Yes. And if there's water to my thumb, then I'm going to stay away from my thumb.
It's going to free you up, because
or to shift your whole direction, right?
Right. Yeah. Just move the whole thing over. But like, that's such a helpful tool to bring with you whenever you're trying to, because now half the time you're like, all right, I'm going to visualize my shot. And then you're like, crap, my shot sucks today. And so that's what you're visualizing. Well, and so you're just trying to figure out the rest.
So so once you pick this, once you know where this is, your visualization's how it gets there.
Okay.
And you can aim here, knowing that your shot pattern's over the middle of your shot pattern's over here. You can aim over here, right? This is not necessarily where you aim. Right. This is your target. This is where you want the center of your dispersion, right? And however you get it there is up to you.
Turns out.
He loves a good putter.
I had a really bad day.
Can I tell you a story?
At a really nice golf course. Yeah, go ahead.
So when people are like, hey, I don't really want to putt from off the green. This was at Cypress Point. This was on hole number, was it on the back? No, it was number 6. It was either 6. It was the second par 5 in a row on the front. All right. I hit my drive a little bit left. It's underneath that little tree just to the left side of the fairway. Again, hit a 5-iron. I'm trying to get it down there on the green. 5-iron comes out a little left, hanging lie. It's in that bunker that's like about 70, 80 yards from the green. And we preach putting out of the bunker for level 1 golfers. It was it was like the most amazing like on-ramp out of that bunker all the way up to the green. So I took my 5-wood and I putted it out of the bunker, and I rolled that thing up to about like 12 feet. And the caddies looked at each other. They're like, what just happened? So like, if a level 3 golfer can putt from out of a bunker at Cypress Point, you can putt from 20 yards off the green at your local muni.
20 yards is not even close. I was at Chichesi and couldn't hit a ball. Robby, I couldn't hit a ball 150 yards straight.
Not a good day for you.
It was not a good day. Yeah. And I had a caddy for the first time in my life, so I'm embarrassed about that too. And finally I was like, we were like 150 yards out on a par 5. I'm like, I'm putting. He goes, I think that's a good idea. He's like, listen, and he bought into it. Like, we were 150 yards in. He's like, all right, fairway's going to move more left to right than what you think. So you're going to putt over here. And I got a par. I parred a par 5 because I putted twice. I think I hit a ball out, hit one bad, and then putted 2 or 3 more times. The other day I was at a tournament, and I was in a bunker. I was like, there's no way in the world I don't fly this into the water on the back side of the green. So I'm just going to putt it hard. And it caught the lip, still had that front spin to it, rolled up to 2 feet and putted in for par.
Nice.
Listen,
love it.
I'm all about it. I need to start carrying my 3-wood with me, because I did that at a thing down in Myrtle Beach. I was like 40 yards out. I putted in for par. No, but putted in for birdie from 40 yards away.
Nice. With the 3-wood. Nice.
Yeah.
I just want to comment that Rob shared his story, and it was just a subtle, I played Cypress Point.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Little humble brag there.
Number 6,
we have video
underneath
of
the
him
tree.
Yeah.
What's crazy is he could have also grabbed his 56 or 60 and had a nice little lob shot.
Dude, if you saw
all the way
this bunker,
within 2 inches.
I tell my level 1 classes, I'm like, it's literally like you're looking for the 0 entry of a pool, right? So like, if you're going into a pool that's 0 entry, if from the bunker there is a 0 entry lip, meaning like there is no step, there is no like angle change from the face of the bunker to the rough on the other side, you take your putter, you take your hybrid, and you roll that thing out of the bunker if you can do it. And it has changed people's lives.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys about one of your recent episodes. How bad do you want it? Right? You guys were talking about, it was around Masters time, I think, and y'all were talking about kind of motivation and like you have people that say they want to get better, but what are they really going to do to make it happen? What advice do you have to share for Jonathan and I? Jonathan's finally got lessons. You know, we are tracking all kind of data. We've got the stack system to try to increase swing speed because yes, we are getting older, less flexible, and not hitting it as far. But what kind of comments and thoughts do you want to add for those that haven't listened to that episode? I would say pause and go listen to that. But on the how bad you want it scale, like what things do we need to be doing because we do want to improve, but what things do we need to do to actually make it happen?
I think that's a great question. That episode was fun for me to do. It was kind of like I was like, Robby, this could be pretty fun way to frame out some of this because we talk about behavior change. And I think that's what we do as coaches, right? We're trying to draw out of people. That's what we do. We try to draw out of people this ability to play the game better. And so you've got to a lot of times change your behaviors. You got to change your mindset. If you're not working on growth mindset, you got to work on growth mindset, which we did a whole episode on growth mindset. One of my favorite episodes that we did. So if you haven't checked that out, check that one out. But essentially, you've got to look at how much can you fit golf into your life and do the right things that can try to help you get better. Things that people aren't willing to do typically are things like take lessons when they need them, get club fit, typically. They don't work on their body as much as they probably should for golf. These are things that we can do kind of outside of like working on your swing. But the other one that I would say is just staying really focused on a plan to help you get better. And so, hopefully the things that we talk about on the golf intervention help people with that plan. That's kind of why we put it out there. We call it a framework of development. It's kind of like the way we talk about it. But if you do whatever you're doing, if you're not improving at golf, just look at all of those processes and try to say like, what is it that I could do differently? And I tell people things all the time because I'm a father of 4. I work, as a golf pro, hours that I work, it's crazy, right? So I understand the crunch on time that people have. But maybe there's things that you can do. It just depends on your resources, right? Can I get an at-home setup of some sort, with a net at very least, or maybe a putting mat, or maybe a launch monitor or a simulator if you can afford it? Can I practice in 15-minute increments at times if I need to? Because I think if you pick a skill and work on it for 15 minutes, you can make a lot of headway. It's kind of like fitness. Like you don't need to work out for an hour. If you don't have an hour, work out for 15 or 20 minutes and you're going to get a great workout in. So it's better to do something than nothing. And so I think you just kind of have to look at that whole process. Like, what am I willing to do? Am I willing to track my stats? Am I willing to get a coach? Am I willing to get new equipment if I need it? Am I willing to join a driving range, what I think Jonathan said that he did? So these are all great steps in improving what you're doing. Some of the things that you also probably need to do is not try to change your swing every day, and that's the thing that I think people, they sort of lose that discipline on a little bit is like, I'm going to see this tip and I'm going to try it. I'm going to change my swing. I'm going to work on this. And like, you just never really get better doing that. All you're going to do is chase your tail. Swing change is not really like in season what you should be doing much of anyway. You should be working on your skills and developing those things the best that you can. But again, you look at your resources, time, energy, money. What are you willing to invest to try to make your game better? But I think it honestly just starts with growth mindset, and that's free, right? 100% free. So if you don't really know what the growth mindset is, not a catchphrase, like this is study. We did an episode on it called The Golfer's Secret Superpower. So check it out on the Golfer Intervention if you want to check out that episode. I thought it was awesome. And the golf mindset is really like, or the growth mindset is really the foundation of all development, really in anything, let alone your golf game. So hopefully I answered that question for you concisely.
I love it. Jonathan, you want to get better?
I had someone ask me that once, and I don't know. I like, we've talked about this a lot, right? Like, I think that's why moving to scratch was helpful. I mean, there's a part of me that wants to join the senior tour in 4 years. I think that'd be fun. But there's also a part of me that doesn't want to work that hard and take that much time. And so I always look at like Robby. Robby will shoot around an 85, give or take, on almost.
I'm getting better than that now.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like,
low 80s, high.
Right. Like, if I went out and played 80 to 85 most of the time, like, that's not bad golf. like that's a good round. You can play with a scratch golfer and not, still be all right. Like you can play with someone who's going to shoot a 72, 73 and not be out of place. You can also play with someone who shoots a 90 to 95 and not be out of place. You could play from the whites if you wanted to. You could play from the blues if they want to. You're probably okay playing from the golds if that's who you're paired up with that day. And so, like, there's a part of me that wonders, like, 85-ish, if I could just consistently be in the 80s, that's not a bad way to go out and enjoy golf. Because then you probably don't have, like, you're not shooting a 10. I do that all the time. There's not a hole that just blows up. I think, Robbie, your challenge this year is less doubles, right? Because you don't do triples. And you just, like, get rid of triples, and then you're not angry going to the next tee box. You just got to double. Like, that's all right. Move on.
I don't want any more doubles. I want to get better. I am in the boat of, I looked it up, I'm a 7-7 right now. And like it's dropped like over the course of the last year since like really doing more of the podcast stuff and really since course corrections, like it's dropping. So my goal is to get better. And I love just kind of the thoughts on scoring strategy and all this other stuff that it's not a swing change, right? It's staying within yourself and playing smarter golf, I think.
Totally.
I'm going from Hook'em Horns to NC State. If I can get to NC State, that's
right.
great. That's a great round of golf.
10. You're going from
10.
Spurs up
to rock
to Hook'em Horns.
Hook'em Horns, whatever, Wolfpack. Yeah, if I can get down to Wolf, if my thumb gets out somehow out of the way of playing golf, then I'll be happy.
There you go.
I want to be that caddy that we met up at Landman. He's like out there in his flip flops, and he's still just hitting bombs out into the middle of nowhere.
It's my guy TK. He's awesome.
Listen, if I could be just that'd be a heck of a time. Just go out there. You can hit a ball out there, hit a couple shots. Yeah.
Well, but Eric, Jonathan, Rob, what? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, Jonathan, like if you get your scoring average down to 85, you're gonna be like, man, I could just shoot 80.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, no, I understand what's going to happen. But there is a part of me, because you mentioned, like, time, money, resources. Like, so I've got a putting green. I have a net set up now. I have plenty of time to go and hit golf balls on almost any day or time that I want. I actually just joined a golf course for the first time, the military post here in town. So I can actually go play 9 to 18 holes every single Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday if I want to. Like I could put in the time, but then there's also a part of me that's like, I don't want to get up in the morning. I just want to stay in bed. Like, do I want to be in shape? Maybe. So I really like Dr. Pepper. Like, there's lots of reasons to think about it. But no, you're right. I mean, we joke around, and I really have thought, like, if I got good at golf all of a sudden, like if something just sort of figured out, would I try for the senior tour? Because I've got that kind of time in my life. I could maybe go. I won't think I will. I do want to talk to that. We need to talk to that guy. Have you ever seen the guy online that's going from not playing at all to scratch in 1 year?
He just started, right? Like,
yeah,
he's got a ways to go.
He's like 47 days into it or something like that. But like I don't know. Yeah.
Well, Eric and Rob, what as we kind of bring it to an end, because I could ask your guys questions all day long because I want to try to learn. What kind of final thoughts or comments do you have at this point in our course correction series of maybe what we need to focus on next? Maybe it is the alignment and the dispersion strategy, but what would be kind of your next step if you guys were coaching us? What should we do?
Well, I mean, I would say like every session needs to have, to Eric's point about having a plan, you need to know what's relevant, right? So are you all both pretty up with the, with what we call the skill training or differential training idea? Okay.
I've heard a little bit of it, but go ahead.
Okay. So again, just backing up for context, really there's 4 things we can do. We can improve our scoring strategy. We can improve our shot process, basically how we predict lie, slope, and wind adjustments. We can improve our skill, and we can improve our swing. So swing-wise, we've already talked about. That's super like individual, kind of specific. We've talked about scoring strategy. We haven't talked a lot about specific lie, slope, wind adjustments. But the one that we haven't really discussed so far has been skill. I believe personally that this is the training element of golf improvement. So a lot of like swing stuff is a lot more like mental work. It's like, hey, like I'm going to really put in deliberate practice. And you hear coaches talk about, oh, I'm going to put in some deliberate practice and like really slow down and put it in these positions. Like, sure, like whatever. Like if you want to train your swing that way, I'm not personally a huge fan of it, but go for it. That is very different than actual training. I want to be very clear. Training is not hugely from a mental standpoint. It's more about developing feel. It's more about developing a library of sensations. It's about stretching your capacity and kind of challenging your perception. So training, when it comes to skill, is not in any way, shape, or form trying to develop fixes. All right. So that's not at all what it is. It's not developing more swing thoughts. It's not having like a library of thoughts. I've had people describe it that way before, and I'm not a huge fan of that. What you're doing is you're giving your brain information about where the margins of error actually are. Right? So think about like anytime you calibrate something, I also call it skill calibration quite a bit. A lot of times when you calibrate something, you want to find out like, hey, how far do you actually have on one side of the spectrum or the other? Because in golf, it never asks you to be perfect. It asks you to just be kind of somewhere in this middle ground. So the way that I recommend doing this is you're going to break this up into the 3 skills that are relevant. Number 1 is going to be arc location. So where is the bottom of your swing arc in space? Is it higher, lower, further forward, further back? Right? Those would be the main ones. That's going to manage the contact point on the face. So that's skill number 1. Skill number 2 is face to path, which Jonathan, you said you've been working on, which is just I don't have a club with me. If this is a golf club, right? So really it's just the about the shaft rotation. It's not where I'm hitting it on the arc. It's not the lie angle. It's just the shaft twist, the about the shaft rotation of the club. Okay. That's going to change the face to path. That's going to change the curve of the shot as well as the start direction. All right, so that's a skill. And then the final skill is going to be club head speed, which we've talked about a little bit before, which is mainly, in my opinion, and Eric, you can chime in on this, but I like to see that managed by how much force you're putting into that initial kind of part of the backswing. Mm-hmm. So with all 3 of those skills, you're trying to give your brain reference points. So for skill number 1, which is arc location, I want you to set up, take a 9-iron, take an 8-iron, set up to it the same way every single time. But on the first swing, you're going to challenge yourself to see how high can I arrive at impact, right? You're just changing the height of the golf swing. You're not changing the shape of it. You're not changing the rhythm of it. You're just changing where it is in space at the bottom of the swing arc. So how high can that swing arc get before you miss the ball? So like literally like nicking the top of the golf ball. For a level 1 golfer, that's what I get them to find. For a level 2 golfer, I get them to find the very, very front edge of the golf club. This part right here. Really just knife the very equator of the ball. Right, on the one that's too high.
Pretend like you're in a bunker and you're going to hit it 150 yards. Got it.
Correct.
Yeah.
On purpose. On purpose. Yes, absolutely, right? And then on the second ball, you're going to set up and you're going to do the opposite. How low can the swing arc get before it gets dysfunctional, right? Different for a level 1 golfer. With a level 1 golfer, just a little chunk, right? Whatever. Cool. Right? Level 2 golfer, they have a little lower tolerance to that. Level 3 golfer, we're looking at which groove on the club face is the ball hitting. Is it if it hit the 6th or versus the 5th, right? So that's the element of that skill training. Can you get too high? Can you get too low? And then once you can you walk that in a little bit? Can you get just a little on the high end of the spectrum but still be okay? A little bit on the low end of the spectrum and still be okay? So now you're teaching your brain, like I found where the margins of error are. Like you're driving down your road, you drove off the edge of the road, you drove off the edge of the road. Now can you keep it on the road, but on the right edge of the lane and then to the left side of the lane? So you're going to do the same thing for arc location and forward and back, right? So you've done high and low, so bottom swing higher, bottom swing lower. You're going to do the same thing for forward and back. So the bottom swing just further forward, hits it on the heel, bottom swing further back towards your feet, hits it on the toe. And what you'll start to learn when you do this is that, man, these are feels that are really, really, really small, right? These are not huge swing adjustments, right? It is my preference that your swing does not change. As soon as you're starting to micromanage, to do my toe, I do this. To do my heel, I do that. Stop. Literally just stop. You're not doing skill training anymore. You're doing swing training. So this is just giving yourself a task, giving yourself a target, right? And then allowing your body to self-organize around that. Same thing with face. Can you get the club face too close to the pass? So when you're throwing your dispersion up, can you give me club face too close? You're going to be outside your dispersion left. Can you give me too open outside your dispersion right? And then can you get inside your dispersion left, inside your dispersion right? Right? that's a really difficult task, right? You'll start to learn real quick. We think we have control of this club face, but we do not, right? All we can do is be predictable. We can train it, right? And then we can be more predictable with it, right? 6 degrees, right, on TrackMan. Have you ever hit on TrackMan?
Yeah.
6-degree error in face.
It's a long
What's that
way.
ball doing?
Well, it depends on how far. Yeah, I mean, that could be
off
50 yards.
More than that, okay? It's 1 second on the clock. 6 degrees is 1 second on the clock.
Wow.
Right? So it's a skill, guys. If your ball goes out of bounds, wasn't your golf swing. The stupid face was usually probably less than a second open or less than a second closed. We've got to train this. This is not something that we can just assume. Like, oh, like if I swing the right way, it's just going to be. No. You've got to train. This is a skill. All right. And then the same thing with speed. It's great with putting, right? Can you roll it too far? Can you roll it too short? Can you roll it somewhere in between? And again, this worked for putting too, guys. Like, hey, if you're hitting a lag putt as a level 1 golfer, I just want it proximity wise. If here's the hole, this is a radius, right? So you can look and see, hey, did I hit my lag putt within that proximity of the hole, right? And that's a great way to go about it. So that's skill training. Again, it's differential training for a reason. You're finding the differences in the kind of where the margins of error actually are. You're trying to operate within it on either side of the spectrum. I recommend that you alternate. So you go, let's say you're doing club face, right? You go club face open and then club face closed. Let's say when you try to do the closed one, Jonathan, this is going to happen for you. When you try to close it, what's going to happen? Ball's going to go straight.
Straight. Yeah.
Right. And then you're going to be tempted to say, oh no, I gotta keep going and try to get my close. Nope. Go back to the open one, right? And then try again. Because what you're trying to give your brain is, again, always those both ends of the spectrum equally. It's like a workout. You're going to do one like anterior chain, posterior chain pretty equally. You're not just going to like hammer one side the whole time kind of thing, right? Because what we don't realize is that when you're actually the thing in your brain that's getting you to slice it more is actually helping you to learn how to not slice it. So we think like, oh, a slice is bad. I need to avoid that. No, dude, like go out there and teach yourself how to slice it more. Because if you can slice it more, you're teaching your brain the thing that it's doing to change that shot. Like the relevant thing is the club face, right? So if you can slice it more, right, the opposite is going to help kind of bring you kind of closer to the middle and kind of where you want to be. So skill differential training, I tell the players, it's like brushing your teeth. Just give it, like if you've got 20 minutes on the range, make the first 5 minutes just picking the one skill that's really relevant for you and just give me a little bit of that and then check the box and you're done with it, right? Just don't let a practice session go by where you don't give me just some differential training, right? Doesn't have to be the whole session. I would probably recommend not, right? Because you've still got like, hey, like let me train what I'm going to do when I'm going to go play, right? That's important too. But skill differential training, I think if you understand the 3 skills, right? Arc location, club face, and speed, that is all the ball cares about. That is all that matters. Actually, in your training, put your attention on those relevant factors. That's all I'm asking.
Love it. I love it. Eric, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I would say since I listened to the other episodes to try to kind of dial in, and I think, Robby, you had said your short game seems to be the thing that lets you down, I think, wedge play a little bit. And so that skill differential training on wedge play is hugely important as well. So I would be working on that, but also just try to create some shots from probably 40 yards and in that you can really rely on so that you're not missing the green. If you miss the green one time in a round from inside of 40 yards as an 8 handicap, you're probably going to have a really hard time getting lower than that. So I would work on that, very first thing, and then start working on some proximities, like getting it on the green and then getting it inside of 12 feet as often as you can, getting it inside of 6 feet as often as you can. Now, 6 feet is where you're going to get up and down, right? So we don't make a lot of putts outside of 6 feet up, from a statistical standpoint. And so if you're going to get it up and down, there's positions around the green that are easier to do that from. So when you're practicing, I would definitely practice like visualizing, okay, from this distance, what is a good proximity for me? And then trying to get that. So if you're in the fairway 20 yards short, nothing to go over, like you should be hammering a 6 foot proximity all the time as your goal, right? Obviously in practice, but if you're short over a bunker out of the rough, like 20 feet from the hole might be really good, but you can't miss the green. So I would be really hammering in on that part of your game for you, from what I kind of heard from the other episodes. And then for Jonathan, it's like 100% working on that club face, like just trying trying to get that club. And I love that you have a mini driver. That was one thing I was going to tell you is I think you're like a perfect candidate for a mini driver to kind of get that part of your game going. Which brand did you get?
I think it's a TaylorMade.
Perfect. So make sure that you got the weights set up to draw that sucker. Make sure the shaft is stiff enough for you. Get it set on an upright setting and like just try and, hit the ball straight. But really, like Robby was saying,
what's an upright setting mean?
So your golf coach should be able to adjust that for you. But if you're a slicer, getting your club set upright is going to help you square the club face. But if you pull the shaft out of a TaylorMade, you'll see completely opposite from the standard loft. It'll say upright. And so you just basically flip the shaft. I guess it's 180 degrees. And that'll make the club more upright, which will help you straighten out your slice as well. And if the movable weights aren't moved with the heavy one in the heel, put the heavy one in the heel. So that'll help you as well. And I would say just working on that club face through skill differential training, through work with your coach and in your practice. You've got it. Once you get the club face right, you're going to be going. Sounds like you have great speed. So I don't think I'd put the time into the stack system if I were you right now. I don't think that has any relevancy. It's actually probably like adding kerosene to the fire a little bit because hitting it further and more crooked just makes it worse. And so I wouldn't be doing that. I would be really training on trying to get that club face in a good position. And it sounds like you got a good coach that you're working on there. And so I would just be hammering those things. And then with the other stuff that we talked about today, I think you all will be set. You have great passion for the game. This is why we love to coach. Is like us coaches don't get to play a lot of golf. We don't get to enjoy it as much as the people that we teach. So we enjoy it sort of like vicariously through the people. And so when it's like, I hear y'all traveling to St. Andrews and you're playing Old Barnwell. And it's like all these places I wish I could go and play. I'm like, I'm just there with you vicariously, right? Like hopefully the coach comes with you a little bit and you can remember some of those tips to help you play better. And there'll be days when us, Robby and I will get to play more golf, but currently it isn't in the cards for me. And so we want to make sure that you're enjoying it because you love the game. It's clear that you do. And so hopefully through the golf intervention and maybe through this tonight, we were maybe just a little bit of insight for y'all to play some better golf and maybe enjoy it a little bit more.
Oh, I'm pumped. I mean, it's 10 o'clock on the East Coast at night, and I really want to go outside and try to figure out how to do something. But no, this has been great. Everybody needs to go check out the Golf Intervention podcast. You guys are great, and appreciate y'all doing this.
Appreciate it.
Next time on Course Corrections, we'll dive a little deeper into Arcos and see where it's telling us to practice the most, because that's where we're losing the most shots. Next time, we'll see you back here on Course Corrections.